we were just surrounded by other Scientologists. And the attitude and the things they would say, right? And this is another thing that spills over, and it's another aspect of things that happen in your formative years. I overheard conversations because I was there during these parties and stuff. They'd be sitting around drinking and laughing and listening to music, and the kids would run around. And I would hear them have conversations about the wogs. Okay, now wog is a very derogatory racial term in Britain. I didn't know this, right? This was a term Hubbard used to describe non-Scientologists. In the same way that in the Harry Potter world, if you're either in the wizarding world or you're a muggle. Muggles are people who don't have the magic, right?
Right.
Well, in Scientology, if you're a wog, you don't have the magic. You literally don't, you're not a Scientologist. You haven't learned the truth yet. So you're a wog. And again, I know that this is a derogatory term, and I'm kind of stressing it because I know that now. At the time, that we were using it, I didn't even know it had a racial component to it. But I would listen to the parents and my parents and their friends talking about the wogs and how stupid and idiotic and dumb the wogs are, and how none of the wogs get it, and the wogs are destroying the world, and the this and the that. So it was the us versus them. They didn't have to even talk to me directly to set that up. I just had to overhear them talking about it because my dad would go on a roll, man. And if there was somebody who influenced my opinions growing up, it was my dad. When he got on tear about something, I was like all ears because I wanted to know how the world worked. And I thought my dad and my mom were the purveyors of truth, right? So I learned growing up that all the non-Scientologists were the ones who were destroying the world. And it was the Scientologists who were trying to save it and stop all of that. And we were the good guys and they were the bad guys. So before I even became officially a Scientologist, I thought Scientologists were the ones who were saving the world, and all the non-Scientologists were the ones actively trying to destroy it.
Yeah. And again, Mormons are going to really pick up on the parallels here. This idea that you are the chosen people, this sort of Mormon exceptionalism, that literally you're not just here to be good, you're here to save the world. In Mormon's case, we're here to usher in the coming of Jesus Christ. We're chosen by God in the last days. And but you only hang around Mormons, and so that's certainly going to limit your vulnerability to outside information. It's going to limit the thoughts you're able to have, and it's going to condition you to not ask certain questions or to not behave in certain ways, because the group ends up being a really strong reinforcer of the organization's values and of their boundaries and of their limits. And so you think you're better than everyone else. You only hang around people like you, and you look down on the people that aren't part of your in-group. And this isn't just Mormonism or Scientology. This is just classic human tribalism. And it happens in almost, if you're a Redskins fan, it's that way. It's whatever organization you're in. If you're a feminist, you're gonna feel that way about non-feminists. If you're a Trump supporter, an Obama supporter, you're gonna hate the other side. But it's very clear that religions all rely on this, it seems. And so what I hear you say, Chris, is that it's not go to church every Sunday, sing songs, hear a pastor talk in Scientology. It's more you go to the local org, and you receive the trainings or the therapy or the instruction, and then your social circles are still very much with other Scientologists.
Exactly right. One other comment that I'd like to make real fast about childhood indoctrination, though, that I think is relevant and important to this conversation, is that children don't have critical thinking skills. It's not like our brains are attuned to be critical thinkers. And so adults have had a chance to examine their beliefs from an adult point of view and decide whether they should or shouldn't believe them for themselves. And, I'll give an adult as wide a median as he needs or wants or latitude to believe whatever the hell they want if they can reason through why they should believe that. At least they have the ability to reason it through. Their reasons might be ludicrous, flat earthers come to mind, but at least they have some idea of why they have reasoned it through that they can explain to you. A child doesn't have that ability. When you tell a child he's an immortal spiritual being, he just takes it. And he doesn't have any reason to believe it except you told him. And he just accepts it as true. And this is the real problem with second gen, third gen cult members, but it's also a problem with how we indoctrinate our kids. As we give them these quote unquote truths that are not evidentiary based, as though they are, and we insist that they believe them. And in fact, in some households, children are beaten if they ask questions or express doubt. So, I think I think we really, really do need to look at how we are raising our children, because religious indoctrination is not helping them, At least I don't think so. And I think for the reasons I just explained, it's because if you're giving children information and they have no understanding of why that information is useful, important, or true, then they're not going to be able to think critically about it, and ever, and that's where fanaticism comes from eventually. So anyway, just wanted to comment on that.
No, that's great.